Hi guys, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where you're watching from. So today we'll be talking about a very interesting topic, and we all know that migration is a big deal nowadays, and a lot of people want to migrate. Some for economic reasons, others for education, some others for tourism, and the like. So everybody has several other reasons why they want to migrate from their countries into some other countries. So today's topic, we'll be talking about 10, not up to 10 anyways, a few countries that offers you permanent residence easily. Now, what's a permanent residence, you might want to ask? A permanent residence is a documentation that allows you stay in a country, work in that country, school in the country, basically enjoy the same rights as a citizen of that country, right? The only difference is most times you're not allowed to vote. That's just the difference between somebody who is a permanent resident and just every other citizen of that country, right? So today there are a few countries that offer these incentives. So first off, we'll be talking about New Zealand, right? New Zealand is a country like a lot of there's not been a lot of migration to New Zealand. You don't hear about it in your daily migration book, like where people are struggling to migrate to New Zealand, even though it's increasing now, anyways. But New Zealand is just low key, right? So, how do you get into New Zealand? New Zealand, it's easier to get into migration through education. Yes, excuse me, education. You need to get. It's easy to get admission in New Zealand, and when you pay your tuition, get into the country, get your visa, and all of that. After your graduation, it's easier to become a permanent resident of New Zealand. It's as easy as that. Just get an educational program, probably a work visa if possible. But eventually, through the educational route, when you get in, get your studies completed and get a job, that guarantees your permanent residence application, and eventually you can move on to citizenship. Another country we are going to talk about here is Brazil. Yes, Brazil offers easy permanent residence, and there are several ways with which one can be a permanent resident in Brazil. So first off is the educational route as well. You get admission into Brazil, you get into the system. After you study in Brazil, you can extend and keep extending, and probably in 4 years, you can apply and become a permanent resident. Another means is giving birth in Brazil. Automatically, the child becomes a Brazilian, gets the Brazilian passport. The parents of the child becomes permanent residents automatically. Another means as well is becoming a spouse, like getting married to a Brazilian. That also guarantees you permanent residence and eventually citizenship. While there are several other ways, adoption and all of that, to get citizenship. Another country you can talk about is Australia, right? Australia, it is advisable that when you get into Australia through the study route, it's easier and more legitimate, right? To get in through the study route. When you finish studying in Australia, probably get a job offer. That way you can advance your application for permanent residence, and it's a bit, not that cumbersome. Another country that offers this easy permanent residence is Canada, right? So everyone knows there's the express entries and all of that. And if you get into Canada, study, extend your visa for a certain amount of time, possibly, just possibly, it's easy to get permanent residence in Canada. And it depends on your skill, anyways. You could be in Canada while schooling, you apply for the express entry system, and luckily you might just get it, right? So, another country I am going to talk about is Mexico. Mexico, yay, viva Mexico. So, in Mexico, another means of getting permanent residence is when you give birth in Mexico, or when you finish your studies there, get a job, probably work for a year or two. That way, it's easy to, apply for your document and easily get your permanent residence. For the birth aspect, the great thing about Mexico is if you give birth in Mexico, you become a permanent resident instantly. Your child becomes a citizen. Your mom, your dad, your in-laws, your siblings can all apply for permanent residence. Isn't that wonderful? And it offers you the opportunity to bring everybody along. Mexicans are very loving people, right? They are very graceful people. Another country we have to mention in this is Portugal, right? There's the golden visa of Portugal, and anybody who meets up with this visa criteria, any, I think it's easy to get if you're a professional, like probably doctors, uh, content creators, big content creators, right? And several other categories. If you apply to their this category of the visa, the golden visa, it gives you permanent residence for what I think 5 years or 5 to 10 years, and eventually you can then convert this to citizenship in the European Union. So you could see that give or take, it's like a win-win situation, right? So if you have the time to do your own research, I'll always admonish you on this channel. Do your research. Don't just listen to what I say and just go by it. Do your research. Get concrete information. That way, you can have first-hand information, know which country suits or would work best for you, and eventually apply to those countries either via school or work. And eventually, when you get into these countries, keep a clean slate. Yes, keep a clean slate. Most definitely, you get permanent residence and eventually citizenship to help in advancing whatever your plans are. If you're looking to move to these countries for economic purpose, for just a change of scenery and environment that allows you permanent stay. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, share. Until the next one.